Okay, so here 124, a little bit more complicated. Panimi che vano nasa, hareya panina visang, nabanang visang anveti, nati papang akubato. And so here, the word, the first word is a hand, pani. It is a masculine short I noun, like we've had the paradigm for the word agi, fire. And so this is existing in it's found here in the masculine short I locative. Yes, so on a hand, in a hand. And che is if. This is our short form of sache, if. And this word vano, which is our nominative subject, is a poison, a wound. I always mix up those words. A wound. And I put down here that it looks suspiciously like the word for the forest, which is a vana, but that's a neuter noun. And this one has a retroflex nasal, so a wound. And then we have our verb negated, na asa. Asa is a tricky one because it can mean theoretically lots of different things completely unrelated. But we understand here that this is the verb ati, to be, in the optative form, third person singular. Another version of that, I think it could be siya, but here asa, nasa. So if there was not, so this is like a hypothetical. That's the major usage of the optative mood, is that if there were not a wound, this is subject, so if a wound was not pani mi, on one's hand, then hareya panina visang. So here our verb comes first. We can see clearly that it's the optative harati. Harati is to take or take up, and then the object of the verb is visang, which is poison. And here panina, that's the same pani as the first word here, but now we have it by one's hand, with one's hand, right? And now the third line, a bit tricky because it's highly compressed probably for the meter to make it work. Na banang visang anveti. So I've broken it down here for us. And there's like a shift of consonant. So this word should be understood as, and I think it's explained in our book, na plus the negator plus vana. So what's happening here is that the na and the v and the vana are coming together, and it's changing over to a double B. And I noticed that this seems to me, at least, very similar to the word sila, virtue, and then vata, which is a ritual or rite. And then when these two words come together, we get sila bhatta. And so it's hard, if we just saw this word, to understand what the component parts of this compound might be, because the word is vata, but it's coming together and making this double B, sila bhatta. So I think a very similar thing has happened here, where the A and the V are coming together, and probably for pronunciation reasons, we get this move to a double B. And so without a wound, we can say. That's the na vana. And also, the na is negating the verb here, which is anveti. The word anveti, I think we see this in the very first verse of the Dhammapada. It means to follow, or to go to, or to approach. A little bit abstract perhaps in this usage. And then visa, which is visang, which is neuter. So poison does not enter without a wound, right? If we don't have a wound on our hand, the poison can't enter into our body, I guess. So that's the third verse. And then the fourth verse, nati papang akubato. So here, a negated word, kubato, is related to the verb karoti. This is that other stem or base, kub, based on karoti. And I think it would be a kubant, so a doer, a kubant, but it's negated, and so it would be a non-doer. And it is in the genitive, dative, for a non-doer. And so this line, which should be read as something like, there is no evil for the non-doer. And what's implied here is of evil, for the non-doer of evil. So I hope that at least grammatically explains this a bit intricate verse 124. I'll read Norman's translation for reference here. If there were no wound on one's hand, one could pick up poison with one's hand. So notice he's taking hareya as a much more idiomatic sense of pick up, to take away. Poison does not enter one who has no wound. There is no evil for one who does not do, and then he has in square brackets, evil. And is there anyone else who'd like to offer their translation of this one, if it's a bit different?
Good morning.
Good morning.
My translation is a little bit longer. May I read it?
Yes, please.
If there is no wound in the palm, not in the hand, in the palm, one or you can carry poison on it. The poison does not affect one who is without a wound, and there is no evil for one who is not doing it. It's longer. It's longer.
Yeah, right. I think that what's implied in the it in your last word is the evil, not doing the evil, right? Yes, very good. Thank you. And Catherine?
Yes, mine is if there is no wound on the hand, one may carry poison with the hand.
Mm-hmm.
Poison does not enter when woundless, just as a non-doer has no evil deed. That's my translation.
A non-doer has no evil deed. But I think the non-doing is referring specifically to the evil. It's not just the person's not doing anything. I think the person is specifically here not doing evil actions. That's at least my understanding. Yeah. Okay, but thank you. Mark, you have your hand up?
Sorry, I forgot to put it down from earlier.
Okay. All right. Are there any other grammatical questions about 124? Okay. Okay, we can move on to 126, the last one in our chapter. And this one also had a metric question mark, which Mr. Norman seems to have answered for me. I couldn't figure it out myself. And so we see this once again to be a typical shloka kind of meter. Although I think that to do it properly, this E has to be read, this E, the second E in Eke, has to be read very long for it to work. So, Gabam Eke Upajanti Nirayang Papa Kamino Sagang Sugatino Yanti. And now here's the problem. Pari Nibanti Anasava. Too many syllables, right? But Mr. Norman says in his helpful footnote that this pari should be sort of compressed. So it makes sense if we read it something like Nibanti Anasava. Nibantanasava, something like that. So this pari, 2 syllables, has to be sort of smushed together to make 1 syllable. Otherwise, there are too many syllables. So that's just a technical point. It doesn't really have anything to do with understanding what this verse means. But I think it's nice to think about the meter. And maybe somebody would like to volunteer their grammatical explanation of 126. How about Diane?
I just took that word, the P-A-R-I, that's where you swallow the A. That was the Svara Bhakti that I tried to explain not very well last time.
Yeah, right.
Pre-Nibanti.
I think that's right.
So pari.
Yes, like
just
kariya,
form it into
kriya.
1 syllable instead of the 2 that is there. Pre.
Yes.
Pre-Nibanti.
But tell us your explanation for the whole verse.
Oh, Gabang Eke Upajanti. Gabang is from, it's accusative of the womb, Gabo. Ak is some,
yes.
And Upajanti are reborn. So some are reborn in the womb. And
yes, and note that you're translating quite right, but just note that Upajanti is taking accusative as its object and not, as you are translating, a locative. Of course, in English, it makes much more sense as you've done it, but we understand that grammatically we're seeing an accusative and not a locative. Sorry to interrupt. Please continue.
So the Nirayam Papa Camino, the Papa Camino is the nominative, those who are doing good, or those who are doing evil, evildoers. And I have to then use the verb from the first phrase, are reborn or go to a bad place in hell, which again is in accusative and not in locative.
Yes. And what kind of word is Papa Camino?
That's one of those IN words.
Yes, plural.
Kamin, Papa
exactly.
Kamin, those doing.
Yes.
Yes. And so Sagam Sukatino Yanti, Yanti is they go. Sukatino is those doing good. They go to heaven, Sagam. Again, in accusative, not locative. And the pre-Nibanti, at pre-Nibanti, pari is like, that prefix means going or altogether, completely. So those without taints, anasavas, go to Nibbana.
Yes, basically, yes. Good. Thank you. So yanti is our new verb in this chapter. Yati, actually, with the long A, but in this plural form, it's with a short A. That's point number 6. And Diane, what kind of word is anasava with this long A?
Well, an asava is a taint, or a
That's
defilement, right. And anasava means well, sort of negates it, without taints.
Yeah, but does it refer to the asavas themselves or those who have asavas?
People, those without taints.
Exactly. So it's really asavant with that vant suffix.
You
Those
caught
who.
me. Yes.
And so an asava would be that nominative.
Nominative. I did not catch that.
Yeah, that's why we have this.
Savant.
This is that possessive vant, having or not having asavas. And as you say, parinibanti as a verb is very hard to translate into English. It's related, of course, to parinibbana, which would be the final nibbana after the death of the person, without residue. And I know that Venerable Bodhi sometimes likes to translate this, but probably not like in print, as nibbanize. Nibbanize. They nibbanize. But we, of course, can't really say that. It doesn't make any sense, but I mean, it makes sense to us because we are looking at this very closely. This is Garan Kruna Tilaka, Lesson 9, Further Readings. This is the famous Sigala Sutta. I was wondering, I remember way back in Pali Primer, we had this word Sigala, which means jackal. And we always wondered, why do we need to know this word? Jackal. And maybe his name means jackal. I don't really know. I mean, I guess literally it means jackal, but everyone leaves it as it is, Sigala, as a name. So I'll start off in our sort of classic beginning style. Evang me sutang, ekang samayang bhagava rajagahe viharati veluvane kalandaka nivape. Tenakopana samayena sigalako kahapatiputo kalaseva vutaya rajagaha nikamitva alavato alakeso panjaliko putudisa namasati. We can stop there for a second. And so, thus I have heard, ekam samayang. So this is our accusative version of time on one occasion. Bhagava, this is our vant in the nominative singular, bhagava. Viharati, dwelling. This is our present tense used as it typically is to refer to a past action. And we have 3 words that are going with it. Rajagahe, in Rajagaha, Rajgir. Veluvane, in the bamboo grove. And the Kalandaka Nivape, the squirrel's feeding ground. So I guess a nivapa is a feeding ground, and the kalandaka is a squirrel. It's the only instance of this word I've ever seen. So, Tinako pana samayena, and so then, samayena is our instrumental form of the time. It seems basically to have the same sense at that time, and how now our subject, our protagonist, in the nominative, Sigalako Gahapati Puto, so Sigala, the son of the householder. And then we have Kalas Eva Vutaya. So here, Vutaya, which we also see is Utaya without the V. And so it seems like for this verb, to help the pronunciation when it comes right after a vowel, like an A, we insert, or there is inserted this V to smooth out our pronunciation, because I guess to say kalas eva utaya would be kind of tricky. And so we have kalas eva vutaya. Vutaya is a absolutive, utahati, to rise up, to get up. It's that ya kind of construction. So having risen, and here we have this interesting usage of kala, time, in the genitive, I think, yeah, in the genitive, but it has the sense of in the morning. I guess it's an idiomatic thing. Having risen in the morning, having got up in the morning, and here now, nikamitva, having, this is nikamati in the absolutive, having set out, rajagaha, so here is our city in the ablative, from, or away from rajagaha. And then here, notice that there are 3 compounds in the nominative singular, which are describing adjectivally